Hello YouTube peers and welcome to episode 3 of RPG Reviews. Today I wanted to go over Chrono Trigger. So this was a very experimental game developed by Square Enix back when they were still working primarily with Nintendo. It's similar in that regard to Saga Frontier, and it also has a lot of similarities with a lot of newer games, like Final Fantasy XIII Part 2 and Saga Frontier 2. So, if you take a look at Saga Frontier, it was released in the same year as Final Fantasy VII, but it doesn't really have the same kind of graphics Final Fantasy VII has. It has more like Super Nintendo graphics, like Chrono Trigger graphics, basically. So that's why, because they were already working on it when they were working with Nintendo. They were using the kind of art style and all that, blah blah blah. Anyway. You get a variety of characters to choose to battle with. Relatively quickly you get 4 of them, and eventually you can have 6 or 7 of them by the time you beat the game. The characters are surprisingly flexible, which makes battles less difficult for players compared to some games like Final Fantasy III, where whatever jobs your characters choose, they are stuck with very limited things that they can even do. Which means it's a lot harder to make bad decisions based on your preferences in party members in this game. So basically what that means is there's like only 2 characters that like cannot do any sort of healing for your party. So like no matter what your battle party is, you're always gonna have at least 1 healer. So anyway. There's a way to keep your battle progression despite starting the game over. For its time, this was a revolutionary concept, and they delivered quite well in the overall experience, in my opinion. I will state, though, that the original Super Boss is nowhere near as intriguing as the one from the DS remake. The Nintendo DS is a handheld game that came after the Game Boy game platform, whatever. This DS remake has a little bit more than the Steam version, apparently. But the Steam version still has the Dream Devourer, which is a really well-made Super Boss, and I'm surprised it didn't make it into the original game. It's much better than the Pink New, but for what it's worth, I beat them both. One thing I don't like about Super Bosses generally is having to do a lot of work just to unlock the right to fight them. In Final Fantasy VII, for example, the Emerald weapon is unlocked through simple story progression, so you do not have to do much to unlock the right to fight them. You have to simply exist. In Chrono Trigger, at least, the original Pink New Super Boss is hinted at, but is not explicitly explained in the game, which means it flies right past most players' radars undetected, which is understandable. The chore of getting your players to level 99 might not be so bad if the players are very engrossed in the unlockable endings, but since there's no moving mode to play them all, it's not that exciting anyway, in my opinion, to try to do such a thing. There also isn't all that much variance in the endings aside from the 13 Steam achievements anyways. So, imagine like a time before being able to record your gameplay easily, like being able to unlock all the endings. Like, what's the point, right? Like, I could go to Twitch and highlight all 13 endings that I unlocked, and then I could just go back and watch them anytime I wanted. Like, that would actually add some interest to it. But yeah, back in the day, people didn't record their gameplay and stuff, so. Anyway, the Dream Devourer requires you to progress through 3 dungeons, so it's not so ambiguous, which is great. You proceed through familiar locations mixed together as if at greatest hits of dungeon areas, and then you battle some new bosses to get through them. Getting to fight some NPCs in here that otherwise got little screen time was a blast. So they handled the overall experience quite well, in my opinion. I played Saga Frontier long before trying out this game on an emulator. I got stuck because in real life problems, plus confusing dungeon early on in the story. So I'm not sure why I formatted this paragraph this way, but I'm talking about Chrono Trigger. I'm not really talking about Saga Frontier. I'm just saying that I played Saga Frontier before I ever touched Chrono Trigger, is basically what I'm saying. So I touched Chrono Trigger for a little while, got stuck, and then I came back, bought it on Steam, and I finished the game. And that's when I made the review. So the only dungeon that's particularly tough to get through is that one near the beginning. Just before we meet up with that old man, whose name I keep forgetting. It starts with a G, is all I can recall. Might as well just call him Garland, I guess. Is the old guy at the end of time, in case you're wondering. Anyway, the developer meeting room ending that I remember from getting 100% on PlayStation version of Saga Frontier happens to be in this game as well, which was really neat. The prison break scene in this game was better executed, except for the finale of it, than later games, which also used that setting. I won't mention which games they are, so as to avoid potential spoilers. In case you're wondering, basically, escaping is kind of weird. The actual, ending of the escape. But the initial escaping, picking up your loot and stuff like that, that was really cool. That was really well done. I thought, and anyways, you utilized a monk, kind of like in Final Fantasy, Zell goes out and gets your party weapons and stuff. It's kind of the same thing happens here. But anyways, they handled it really well in this game. I think better than they did in Saga Frontier or Final Fantasy 8. Anyways, in a lot of ways, where was I? The game has some side quests which are extremely tedious. Leveling up to 99 would be one of those, except that you can multitask that with one of the dungeons. So there's quite a bit of tediousness with leveling up, but there was a little trick that you could do, which I took advantage of, where you could just move around your character a bit, activate a computer, and then you just step on a conveyor belt thingy, and then you just auto battle quite a few enemies, and then you repeat the process. Anyways, there are some areas though where you have to go through quite a few forced battles, crossing over way too many bridges and rope ladders way too many times. There's also a confusing dark area that I never figured out what to do there. So, this game might have red herrings, in other words, like that dark area that I mentioned, because it seems like there's something that you can do, but I never figured out anything that you can do there. Some weird room that was near the Reptite village. Anyways, yeah. Many of the side quests are tricky to complete, and there are multiple ways to complete them, which can give you different sets of rewards. I'm not sure exactly which side quests I'm talking about, but okay. Which I think is cool because you can do the quests better some other times thanks to the New Game Plus feature. Oh, right, yeah. Anyway, yeah, the side quests themselves have endings, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And a different ending gives you a different reward, which is similar to Final Fantasy X Part 2 now that I think about it. Anyway, many endings will oftentimes just be a preview of things the players can strive for, and sometimes they show stuff that otherwise isn't in the game. And they even break the fourth wall at times in this game, especially with more than one of the endings this is the case. Okay, rating, finally. Let's get here. So, exploration above average, story above average, progression, art, and battle all average. So this game overall is above average. These are ratings for Chrono Trigger, and the below are for other games that are similar to it that I don't happen to own on Steam. So you wouldn't be able to read my reviews for them. So here's an opportunity for you to see my rating for these games. I'm not going to offer a rating for Lufia 2 because I don't think it's very similar to this game. But I do plan on, if I play a game that's similar to it on Steam, I will offer a review for it. Hopefully Lufia 2 itself will pop up on Steam one day, but maybe it won't. Either way, so we've got Saga Frontier 1 and 2, and Romancing Saga 3 are all pretty similar to Chrono Trigger, so if you guys liked Chrono Trigger, you may want to consider playing some of these games. Romancing Saga 3, first off, handled exploration better than Chrono Trigger did. 5 out of 5. Story, though, much worse. 1 out of 5. So really bad. But progression, also worse than Chrono Trigger. but just below average, not really bad. Then we have art was better though, so above average this time. And then battle was again average. So art style very similar to Chrono Trigger, I would argue. I mean, obviously it's not Dragon Ball flavored. Neither was Saga Frontier or Saga Frontier 2, but beyond that, it was still pretty similar. Then we go to Saga Frontier. They got 5 out of 5 in all 5 categories. I know it's kind of unfair, but it is similar to Chrono Trigger and a much better game. Not much else to say about it. If you guys haven't played it and you liked Chrono Trigger, you should go play it. Definitely do it. Alright, Saga Frontier 2. This was not a sequel to Saga Frontier, in case you're wondering. It's kind of like Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Like that. Like, not linked at all by story. In any case, the story was 4 out of 5. Exploration only 2 out of 5, which is really low. But at least the story was just as good as Chrono Trigger's. So, and the progression was actually better than Chrono Trigger's also. So even the exploration wasn't so good. It still scores above average as well in art and battle. So overall, it's getting slightly better score than Chrono Trigger was. Because the progression, art, and battle being slightly better than Chrono Trigger's just edges Chrono Trigger's better exploration out just a little bit. So if you guys enjoyed Chrono Trigger, definitely consider playing Saga Frontier and Saga Frontier 2 as well. Anyway, let's go ahead and end this review by just looking at a whole bunch of screenshots. If you guys don't want spoilers, then feel free to just skip the rest of the video, because you might get some spoilers looking at some of these screenshots. I'm just going to blast through these really quickly. I'm not going to say too much about them. We do... there's that old man from the end of time. I named... I'll tell you what we named each of the characters. That's one thing I can talk about. So the main character's name is Buck. The princess, we named her Cayenne. We named the ship Cyan. We named the girl inventor Gigs, like Giggles, but with, it's Gix. We named the robot Six, or Sigs if you prefer. We named the prehistoric clan leader Fang. And we named the dark mage Medivh. Oh, and we named the frog character. We named him Green. I think that's it. I think those are all the characters. When I say we, I mean it was all me. I did all the naming. At this moment, they let you choose between a weapon or a piece of defensive equipment. I chose the defensive equipment on my first playthrough, and it was a really good choice. On my second playthrough, I ended up choosing the weapon. So it's kind of neat that you can end up having both. These funny looking marks on the ground are portals you can step into to take you to different places in time. And at various points of the game, some will open up and others will close and stuff. It's kind of interesting. Oh, there was his name, and it's not Garland, it's Gaspar, or something like that. Gaspar. Okay. I actually did that input the code correctly quest at one point. I looked it up because it was confusing and I didn't know what to do. Didn't do it the first time. And when you do hit level 99, her fist changes. I'm not sure exactly at what levels her fist changes, but it keeps getting upgraded. One thing I thought was pretty interesting was this text here is repeated in a new item. So in the original version, I'm pretty sure she still had this bronze fist that she could get when she hits level 99 or 100 or whatever it is. And so she gets this. But then the Robo dude can get this without having to get level 99. But this is a new version only feature, like DS Remake and Steam version only, where the Robo gets to have this by going into one of the new dungeons. He gets to unlock one of these pieces of equipment that has this text. It's pretty interesting stuff. So that was really cool. That they just basically like copied a mechanic from the original game and just put it on another character too. It's like DLC item or whatever, but it's not particularly weird. Oh yeah, I get my picture's kind of in the way, so you can't see the entire text, can you? I guess I could fix that real quick. I guess I must have been covering over some of the pictures, but I guess it's okay. You guys probably got most of the good information. But that's the last picture, so I guess that means this review is done. Thanks everybody for sticking around to the end of the video, or until I start showing off the pictures in case you didn't want spoilers. If you lasted this long, you are awesome, and I hope you stick around to watch the other videos in this review series. Thanks. See you next time.